briefing. As we've informed you, this briefing will be largely related to the Prime Minister's visit to South Korea, and Foreign Secretary will make some initial opening remarks, and along with him is, as you know, Secretary East on his right. And in case you have any questions related to that visit, Secretary East will handle it. Given that we have a very limited amount of time, we will limit this meeting to about 30 minutes, including all questions. So please try and focus your questions on the summit in the initial among the initial set of questions, and then if there is time, we will then Foreign Secretary or Secretary East will respond to any other questions. Along with Secretary East, on his right is Mr. Gautam Bambawale, who joined Secretary East Asia, who also handles South Korea. With that, I will now ask Foreign Secretary to make his opening remarks.
That, like many buildings, this one is also in a permanent state of repair. We have to find our way around from a very complicated route back here. That's just by way of apology for being a few minutes late. Well, thank you. The Prime Minister will be visiting the Republic of Korea from March 24th to the 27th. And this will encompass two important engagements. Prime Minister will, at the invitation of President Lee Myung-bak, be on an official visit to South Korea on the 24th and the 25th. He will then attend the second Nuclear Security Summit in Seoul on the 26th and 27th of March. The visit to South Korea is the second bilateral visit by the Prime Minister of India, the last being in 1993 when Sri P.V. Narasimha Rao had gone to South Korea. President Lee Myung-bak had visited India on a state visit as the chief guest for the Republic Day in 2010, and our President had visited ROK in July 2011. The elements of the official program include a wreath-laying ceremony at the Memorial Tower in the morning of March 25. This will be followed by an official welcoming ceremony at the Blue House, which is the official residence of the President of the ROK. PM will hold discussions with President Lee both in restricted and delegation level formats. A bilateral agreement on simplification of visas will be signed, and thereafter a joint statement will be issued. On March 26th in the morning, there will be an interaction with leading CEOs of Korean corporations, at least that has been scheduled. India and South Korea have a strategic partnership since 2010. The architecture of bilateral political discussions is well established. The two foreign ministers co-chair a joint commission, and the last meeting of this joint commission was held in June 2010. The next is expected later this year. There is also a foreign policy and security dialogue, which is handled by my colleague Secretary East and the Vice Foreign Minister of ROK, in which they discuss overarching regional matters as well as economic and security issues. Our economic relationship anchors our strong ties. Bilateral trade has picked up considerably since the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, the CEPA, between India and the ROK came into effect in January 2010. In the last 2 years, bilateral trade has grown 65% to reach $20.5 billion last year. And we have established a target of $30 billion by 2014, which we believe is achievable. Over 300 South Korean companies are present in India, with actual investments worth $2.3 billion. Indian investment in Korea is also substantial, with Tata Motors and the Mahindra Group having made important strategic investments in that country. Bilateral cooperation in other spheres continues to move ahead. A joint fund for science and technology collaboration amounting to US $10 million has been established to finance joint research between our scientists. An MOU for cooperation in space activities was concluded in 2010. The agreement on civil nuclear cooperation is progressing steadily. The Republic of Korea is active in India's defense equipment market. Later this year, we expect a visit by the Defense Minister of ROK to India. Parliamentary exchanges have also been robust. the Speaker of the Lok Sabha and the Speaker of the Korean National Assembly have exchanged visits in 2011. Cultural exchanges are progressing well. The ICCR established an Indian Cultural Center in Seoul in 2011, and a Korean Cultural Center is expected to be inaugurated later this year in our country. The Prime Minister's visit aims to give depth and greater meaning to our strategic partnership and to the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, to strengthen people-to-people contacts between our two countries, strengthen cooperation in the field of science and technology, and also coordinate our thinking on matters relating to regional security and international events. Following the bilateral component of the visit, PM will attend the second Nuclear Security Summit on the 26th and 27th of March. You will recall that the first Nuclear Security Summit was held in Washington on 13th April 2010 with the participation of 47 countries and 3 international organizations. A total of 58 leaders are expected in Seoul at the Seoul Summit, as some new countries will be attending for the first time. The summit deliberations and results will be reflected in the Seoul NSS communique. As you are aware, the draft communique was discussed at a Sherpa meeting which we hosted in New Delhi on 16th and 17th of January 2012. There will be another Sherpa meeting in Seoul on the 23rd of March, which I will be attending, to finalize the communique for the summit. The program of the summit would be broadly patterned on the lines of the Washington summit, with an opening dinner for the leaders on March 26th. The thematic discussions during the dinner would be review of progress made since the 2010 Washington summit. Thereafter, the thematic discussion during the morning and afternoon sessions of 27th March would be on national measures and international cooperation to enhance nuclear security, including future commitments. There will then be a working lunch with thematic discussions on the nuclear security and safety interface, which will be between 12:30 to 2 p.m. And the summit is expected to close at 4:30 p.m. The main objective of the Nuclear Security Summit process has been high-level attention on the global threat posed by nuclear terrorism and the measures that are required to prevent terrorists and other non-state actors from gaining access to sensitive nuclear materials and technologies. While nuclear security is a national responsibility, there is scope for international cooperation. The IAEA has a central role in strengthening the international nuclear security framework. The Seoul Summit is intended to take stock of progress in implementation of the communique and work plan which was arrived at during the Washington Summit, as well as agree on new measures that would be reflected in the summit communique. A number of countries are expected to speak on the steps taken to strengthen nuclear security after the Washington Summit in the form of national progress reports. These will be made public during the summit. India is committed to the success of the NSS process, and PM's participation in the Seoul Summit, as well as the first summit in Washington, is a demonstration of our high-level commitment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. To the summit, to the Nuclear Security Summit and the Prime Minister's visit to Korea. So if we can start with those. Yes, sir.
Abhisar Sharma from Ashtak. My question is, I've got 2 questions. Would Iran be discussed? And 2, what about the bilaterals with Pakistan and the US? Is there a possibility of having a bilateral with them?
The focus of the NSS is essentially nuclear security and the measures to prevent terrorists from gaining access to sensitive nuclear material for malicious purposes. So it is not the theme of the summit. But individual national statements may cover other issues, including of the nature which you mentioned. As of now, there are no plans for a bilateral meeting between Prime Minister and President Obama and the Prime Minister of Pakistan. As of now, this has not been scheduled.